All right, guys, welcome back to the next unit we're covering. We're going to be covering Unit 33. So I'm going to talk about Unit 33, Arizona Deer Draw 2023, kind of what to expect, and some of the differences Unit 33 has. So Unit 33 is basically North Tucson. So it's not the Tucson Metro unit, but it is surrounded by Tucson is surrounded by the Catalina Mountains to the north, and 33 makes up basically a giant unit that encompasses Catalina Mountains, Rincon Mountains, and everything in between in that area. So it's a unit that's just right outside of Tucson. So as you can expect, with the 500,000 plus people living in Tucson, it's a very popular place to go hunting, and it's also very popular because it has an awesome Coues whitetail population. So 33 might have, I think they do. I think Unit 33 has the most Coues deer hunts out of any other unit in the state. So they have 5 rifle hunts. Unit 33 has 5 rifle hunts. An early rifle hunt, actually, like if you count in youth hunts, there's 6 or 7 hunts for Coues whitetail in Unit 33. And so that gives an indication of the populations of Coues whitetail in this unit. It's a very, very good populations. They do have a mule deer hunt. They do have 1 mule deer hunt in 33, and there's 200 tags. So there is a good population of mule deer. Typically, anytime you're hunting mule deer in a Coues deer unit as well, you're going to want to hunt the periphery, the lower elevation stuff that's surrounding the mountains, that's surrounding the Catalina Mountains, all the foothills. That is your mule deer country. So when it drops into the flats, mule deer love that stuff in there. So there's some really good mule deer in 33 as well. But primarily for the rifle seasons, it is a Coues whitetail area. And there's a lot of big country, a lot of stuff you can't access, wilderness stuff, a lot of really good country for Coues whitetail. So let's talk about the hunts themselves. Let's not include the youth hunt. I'm going to go out and talk about the youth hunts later on in a different video, just talk about each of them. But 33 has an early rifle October hunt, which is one of the only units that has that. So they started doing this a couple years ago, where they're hunting in like mid to early, not early October, but mid October, before the typical first rifle season. So typically statewide, the first rifle Coues hunt is like, this year I think it's October 27th. In years past, it's been a week earlier, October 21, things like that. So in Unit 33, they have a hunt that starts before the first rifle hunt throughout the state. So this year it's going to start in mid-October. And then you go basically bam, Coues deer hunts up until the end of December. So you have the first early rifle hunt, second rifle hunt, the third rifle hunt, which is in 33, is the early November, mid-November hunt. And then you have the fourth rifle hunt, which is the early December hunt. And then you have the trophy rifle hunt, which is the 5th hunt, which is December 15th through 31st. And to top everything off, you have a pretty cool muzzleloader hunt right in the mix in there, in kind of the mid to late November time. So there's a lot of tags, guys. There's a lot of hunters, but there's a lot of Coues deer. So there's a reason why there are so many hunts and so many opportunities, and there are some absolute giant Coues deer in these units. And there's Coues deer in the really remote places, really crazy far back in there, some of that wilderness mountain where you're backpacking in. I know several guys that backpack in, truly backpack in, and do it like super mobile hunting, kind of like backpack style sheep hunting for Coues deer in 33. You can do that. You got to be water aware for sure. So if you're going to go do something like that, make sure that you have it planned out. Either water is the biggest deal. So make sure you have it planned out to where you are caching water prior to your hunt, or you have a water source back in there that is reliable, and you know it's going to give you water that you can filter and survive off of. And that's part of the limitations, guys, with backpack hunting, just to go off on a quick tangent, because 33 is one of those spots where you can really get back in really away from people, where there is no roads, and the deer are back in there. So be aware of water. anytime you're hunting in Arizona, anytime you're hunting in southern Arizona, especially, water and heat are an issue. So for example, that early October hunt, or I say early October, that early rifle hunt, which is in mid-October in 33, it's going to be hot. It can be 100+ degrees during that hunt. So you need to be very aware of how you're going about your hydration, and what to expect, and have a plan of where you're going to be hunting, and have a contingency option too. If you happen to shoot a deer and you have to track it or pack it or whatever, understand it's going to require a lot more water than just going out there on a day hike scouting trip. So be prepared. There's not a whole lot of water in Arizona at all. There's a lot more water in 33 than some of the other units, but those water sources are pretty limited and also not drinker friendly. So you got to have a filtration system or some kind of iodine tablets. We can get into that on a different video and maybe just talk about DIY hunting, but for now I'm just going to talk about 33 and some of the opportunities. So as I stated earlier, the Catalina Mountains are just phenomenal, giant mountains that are surround Tucson basically to the north. Typical Sky Island, but you go from desert floor, 2,500 feet, all the way up to 8,000 plus feet. It's an amazing area. You climb up. One way to get there is taking, Reddington Road, getting up in there. Very popular for mountain climbers, very popular for bicyclists or cyclists, however you want to call them. I'm not a cyclist myself, so but very popular just because of the vast terrain differences, elevation changes, the rock formations, all that kind of stuff. And then it goes from cactus and low brush country to pine trees. So you can pretty much hunt anywhere in between. These deer are not isolated to the very tops of the mountains. They are at the base of the mountains all the way up. They are on the outskirts, and they are in the very center of the nastiest, 3-day hiking trip in the Catalina. So they are everywhere. And that's why there are so many tags allotted for this unit, because this is like the perfect Coues deer habitat, and they love it and they thrive. There's lots of water, like I said earlier, and precipitation this year is great. The rains are already starting down there. So it's going to be another really good year for fawn survival and also for antler growth too. So going to be a really good year. The deer are going to be healthy. They're going to be moving around. The vegetation is going to be thicker. So please plan to spend a little bit more time on the glass, try to find these things hiding in the shade under some of these trees that are just a little bit bigger. We had some of that issue last year a little bit in some of our stuff. It's just everything got greener and bigger, and these deer had more and more chances to hide in the shade and hide for cover. So that's the case there. So unit 33, great unit to hunt. There is a lot of roads on the outskirts of the Catalinas, kind of surrounding the area. And guys, there's going to be a lot of hunters. So if you plan on driving around and hunting off your side-by-side, expect to have company anywhere where there's any kind of road. So that's not to deter you from doing what you want to do. I know there are physical limitations. Not everybody can go hike, 3,000 vertical feet or go hiking 5 to 10 miles a day. So I understand that, but understand that there are going to be a lot of people around. They're going to be hunting the same kind of way, glassing from their side-by-side or their trucks. So just understand that. Be courteous, have ethics. That can be kind of difficult when everybody's driving around and chasing after the same deer. That is why it is the best, if you can physically do it, to get away from people for the most part, just because the deer are more active in those areas. In those areas where in 33, where there's a lot of roads and the deer they're there, but they're less active and they're a little bit more tricky, and they're going to definitely not move out in the open quite as much as some of the deer that go back and live in some of the nasty canyons back in the Catalinas. So something to be aware of. There's not a ton of private land really in 33 that you have to be too concerned with. There is some there's like Sabino National Park, Sabino Canyon National Park, so you can't really hunt. You got to be careful, in some of that stuff where it's national, where they don't allow hunting or it's a little too close. Because some of these parks and state parks and stuff in 33, they do allow hunting, but you got to be careful in where you're hunting and kind of with the limitations they set 4th. It's not exactly, there's buildings and there's hiking trails. So they want everybody to be safe and hunt safely. So I hope I could talk about 33 for a long time. I'm trying to keep this short. I went over stuff on the map for you guys, kind of give you an idea where to start, kind of some of the stuff where I was talking to, where some roads to access points and kind of get back in there. Guys, there's deer everywhere. You don't always have to get away from people to be successful, but that's a great place to start. So maybe it's a good time to start training, getting after it, and getting ready for that high elevation Coues deer hunt if you try to draw this tag. So draw odds are very, very good too, whether you're a resident or non-resident. Obviously, the trophy tag is going to take a lot of points no matter what, if you're a resident or a non-resident. But for the most part, guys, you can draw 33 if you want to. There's always a muzzleloader hunt, which is basically 100% chance to draw. Great hunt. Fantastic for guys who are into the muzzleloader like myself. Shooting long range and shooting 500 yards with muzzleloaders at tiny little Coues deer is a really fun hunt, really challenging. So that's a cool hunt they have that pretty much anybody can get drawn for. So anyway, I'm going to wrap it up. I hope it all helped you guys. I hope it educated you. Hope you know what your draw odds are and kind of what you're looking at as far as a Unit 33 hunt and some of the challenges with the terrain and the population and the hunters and hunting pressure and all that kind of stuff. So good luck, guys. I hope you draw. I hope you hammer a giant deer. And I hope most of all that you have fun. So we'll talk to you later.